Welcome back to LakeScape. I'm Dave McGirt. Today I'm joined by Cameron Farris, one of our project managers. We're really going to talk about how project management is really key and core to the LakeScape vision and the mission that we do for our customers. Early on, we found when we were just a marine construction company, and now that we've incorporated a lot of these other services, the core problem in any project, no matter what you do in life, is the handoff, right? You can have aces at every job, but if they don't talk or don't communicate or don't hand off properly, that's where the project fails. It doesn't really matter if we're talking about construction or anything else. A big part of that is incorporating the project management and the oversight for our customers, and also taking the stress off of their shoulders and putting it back onto ours. So with that said, Cameron, what's the day in the life of a project manager when you think about all of the moving parts, the different projects? So I think a lot of times people don't understand the value and the time and energy that it takes to make all those things happen. Maybe take us through a day in the life of Cameron and just a snapshot of what that looks like, and then we can kind of talk about some of the different parts of that.
So I'm going to give you the 2 C's on that, right? Collaboration and communication. That's going to be the 2 most important parts of my day. Whether it's looking at how can we tie in that transition to land and make sure that riprap looks good, that seawall looks good for the dock, or how can we tie in the electrical work that's going to be done with putting sod back, right? Making sure all the different pieces of the puzzle are coming together to make that perfect lakeside picture for us.
I get the luxury of talking about all the things that we can do, and we can say yes to that. But you have to put the sausage together. When we talk about the entire lakescape for that customer, it's a lot of fun. All the things that we get to tie together. We've got a customer where we're fixing a gutter, or fixing a driveway issue, a couple boards on the side of the house. Do you find that it's is it more interesting for you when it's lots of small projects, because there's almost like they're easy wins, versus these kind of long, laborious projects that are kind of complex? I'm just curious.
Right.
You guys might not care, but I do.
Right. So they definitely have their pros and cons. I really like when I have a very large project that has a lot of small moving pieces, right? Whether it's taking a house and we're painting that house, we're redoing the windows, we're trimming the shrubs. I like being able to see an entire makeover of the property, and that's something that I really like. Now, with the smaller projects, like you said, there's a lot more quicker wins, right? We see that a lot with service. I like seeing it all tie together. Our goal here is to make sure that weekend property, that retirement property, the place where people are coming to relax and enjoy the lake, you're able to enjoy it, right? We don't want to spend our entire weekend, pulling weeds out of the beds or checking the house for carpenter bees. That's our job. Let us take care of that. Let us do the dirty work, so to say, and let's make sure we get it taken care of for you.
Well, it's funny you say that, because I think one of the things, and I overhear in the halls conversations that are going on, normally when you interact with a company, you have a sales rep. Sales rep says, yes, we can do that, Roger, and off they go. And there's this gap between what I, as a customer, communicated to the salesperson, what checkboxes or whatever they wrote down, and now that has to get to the team member that's going to go do the work. Right. It's not, and where there's always this failure is that in between, because that person knows how to do what I asked to be done, but like everything, it's kind of like the game of telephone. Like, once it passes through a few years, it changes. And I think the value that LakeScape kind of brought back to this industry is we're going to insert you or any of the project managers in saying, this is what I understand you want to happen. Are we in alignment? Well, it's not exactly. Well, what is exactly, so we can make sure, and not necessarily change the scope of a job, but the subtleties, right? Well, I actually want that walkway to start a little further out this way. Doesn't change the dollars, but it's what they wanted. Versus, if we don't document extremely well, and we still work hard at this, and it's not easy, they will go build the perfect solution. We just need to be what they wanted, right? Because it's one of those guys that did it to spec. It's, you could, look it up in a manual and say, this is exactly how you put this paver patio out, et cetera. But it's pointed the wrong direction by 10 degrees because they kind of wanted it just perfectly west facing, not facing the waterfront. And it's that subtlety, I think, that the project management team is able to just, because I've heard your kickoff calls with customers and like, hey, this is what I understand we're doing. We're just doing some simple things for you. But if, when I think back to all the different vendors I've interacted with, I can't think of very many times they called and said, hey, this is what we understand we're doing for you. I want to make sure we're in alignment. And, and I want to make sure we're going to deliver what you asked for.
Right. And I like to really break that down because a lot of people have an idea in their head and it's so hard to translate it into print, Right. But if I can get with that customer, I can talk to them and say, hey, I know you want this fire pit, but where do we want it? What kind of stone is it made of? Is it even made of stone or is it one of those steel fire pits, right? Being able to get that information, that way their perfect lakefront property is there for them, right? If it's somewhere they're coming and they want to make those memories with their grandkids or their kids, or they want to have their reunions there or have friends over, we want to make sure it's exactly what they're looking for. So being that detail oriented, making sure we have everything is super important. A quick example that I dealt with today is we're delivering a floater to a customer. And we're going to have the barge take it out there. So the customer said, hey, I have a green monster light and it's right here in the water. Can we make sure that it stays okay? So, even if it's so small, just that collaboration between, our other project managers, our barge manager, and just saying, hey guys, it's right here. Let's make sure we don't run it over. They're kind of fragile. So, everything from making sure all those I's are dotted, those T's are crossed, to a larger scale of, you walk out there the first time after it's done and you say, wow, this is mine.
Well, and to that point, as an owner, yes, we're always going to make it right by the customer, but it's a hell of a lot easier for both of us, the customer and the company, to get it right the first time.
That's right.
Because yes, they took care of it, but why did they mess it up to begin with? I mean, was it that hard? I mean, I've been on both ends, right? As a customer, it's like, seriously, that was pretty straightforward. I mean, I appreciate you guys making it right, but you cost me another week of my time and me having to worry about it. So I think it's super critical. So, for you guys, first off, thanks for taking some time to listen to us talk about project management, which is always a gripping topic. But all kidding aside, I think it's a serious part of construction that most companies lack. And when you talk about your entire lakescape, it's a complex environment. There's so many things going on. And what we have found is a lot of our customers don't know what they don't know yet. So this might be their first lake property they've ever owned, first boat they've ever purchased, all the fun first times of everything. So really, not only is it important for our team to kind of educate on the front end and figure out what will solve a problem you have today, but from the project management perspective, they're thinking, 3 steps ahead. So as we work together on any one of your projects, whatever that might be, routine maintenance or a new feature that you're adding, let the team kind of be your guidepost and give you advice on, what is that 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, 4 year plan for this investment? Most people don't buy a lake house for a year; they buy it for 20 years. So to get that plan in your head and understand what's available and what people have been successful with, I think is a huge value that LakeScape brings to all of our communities. And thank you again for the time, and until next time.